Skedaddle Skedoodle. Welcome to NFL Talk, ya noodles. How's it going today? Puck and Stuff podcast. I almost said Puck and Stuff Talk. Puck and Stuff podcast coming at you again with another episode. NFL Talk, like I said before. B-Dog, T-Dog, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, D-Dog?
Oh, I can't complain. Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you guys are starting to fulfill your wishes and your January and February, and then probably stop them around March.
That's
goals.
That's where
I'm just
stops.
more or less talking more about me, but doing good though. NFL talk. A lot to talk about.
T-Dog, 2 weeks until NFL playoffs.
2 more weeks. That came really fast. But what's crazy too is just the last part of this season has a few things have been pretty surprising.
Yes, very, very surprising.
Very
T-Dog,
so.
How do you feel the Packers are literally
Woo-hoo!
1 win away from possibly making playoffs?
Oh, man, look at me going all glass half empty, and now I feel glass half full because they start winning. No, it was a dominant win. I mean, it's just, especially when you see the Vikings that have a pretty solid record, and then you come out with a performance like this when it's needed. It's awesome to see. Utilizing your running plays and having your young wide receivers play pretty consistent. It almost is like, I think, too, with this team is, you have new pieces in play, and I think maybe you needed a little bit of time for everyone to just get used to each other, and I think I think it finally started to click a little bit, and we're seeing a lot of some good chemistry being connected here from Rodgers and his wide receivers as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Defense has been playing pretty solid, too. We love Jair Alexander's gritty on.
Justin Jefferson.
Was it on Jefferson? It wasn't Jefferson.
Yeah, it was Jefferson.
Yeah, it was.
He locked down Jefferson that game. Wow, I was impressed.
That was fun, man. Yeah, they look like we're having a good time, though. I mean, Lambeau Fields just seems to be a good little magician's curse for some teams, I guess, sometimes.
I guess so.
But I'm feeling pretty confident. But, of course, right, it's not over yet. You got to play the Lions, and the Lions also had a dominant win against the Bears. Lions, I think they're the one with the house money against the Packers. I mean, the Packers are the ones I think that more people are talking about, and I guess thinking that more is implicated on them, whether the Packers win or lose, I would say. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just because the Packers with an elite quarterback in Aaron Rodgers is, of course, always going to be expected to have high expectations. So I think that's why. So there's going to be a lot to think about. So, yeah, next week for sure is going to be exciting to see. But they've looked pretty good, so maybe we'll get a decent first-round exit.
Yeah, possibly. Oh, my God, first-round exit. I mean, I could see it, I'm not going to lie. But even if I just jump right into the playoff picture for what we're going into Week 18 with, it is a first-round bye for the Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles, as we both figured as much. And the first round in the AFC is looking like the Patriots versus the Bills, the Baltimore Ravens versus Cincinnati Bengals. Should be interesting. The Chargers versus the Jags. Jags jumped up and took that 4th spot from the Titans. And then we look up the NFC. We got the Seahawks versus the 49ers, the Giants versus Minnesota Vikings, and the Dallas Cowboys versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And even if you look, I'm looking at the AFC and who is still potentially in a spot to take over. It is New England that's in. Right behind them is Miami. And behind them is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh and Miami need 2 big wins, and so does Patriots hold the spot.
I think Miami is the one that's going to be most in trouble if they're the ones that don't make it.
What a start from Miami.
They had a great start, and then it's just Tua. I think the Tua injury has a lot to do with it, but he has definitely not been up to par the last 3-4 weeks, I'd say.
No, he has not been playing.
And that's when you need it the most, right? And, yeah, that's a little unfortunate for them.
So even if Tua does come out with a loss against the Jets, out of everyone the Jets, do you think he's still a starter next season?
Whew.
That's like
already. I mean,
that's a big turnaround from a guy like Tua, because we were talking like, oh, he's a top 5 quarterback last season, and then you see him now and you're like, if he can't take a W against the Jets of all teams, that's kind of concerning as a starting QB role.
I mean, I almost think of this as not. I mean, there's different scenarios from him and like Westbrook, Wilson. Sorry, why did I say Westbrook?
Westbrook.
Anyways,
Wilson.
Yeah, with Russell Wilson. And I think it's just like you're gonna have seasons, but that the fans are gonna go after you for. But I think you can prove them wrong later. I don't think it affects his. I think it does affect his starting position. Like I think the Dolphins are gonna find more strength in like second string in some games, but. I mean, he could come back. I think injuries do have a lot to play with it, right?
Very true.
And I don't think we realize just because we're not the athlete, so we don't know how much that's affecting them per se. Like, you know what? I still think back about how when Tua got that really bad concussion, and the doctors fired because he clears him, even though he wasn't ready at all.
No, he went out the next week and got hammered again.
That's a lot to think about. So if he is going to not have a position with the team per se, then it's probably I think injury wise, not just performance. I think the performance would be caused by the injury.
Oh, very true.
And stuff. Yeah, Dolphins though, it's like especially with the team should on paper shouldn't of course be in this, but the team should be already set on paper, right, to be in the playoffs. So I think that's a little bit of a tough go for Miami fans there.
Yeah, for sure. And I obviously do see with Tua, he does have his injury problems, but like the fall that Miami took from the beginning of the season to now is a lot hurtful for probably their fan base in general because they look so good on paper. But then I wouldn't say Tua, if he loses against the Jets, I don't think Tua's out of the scenario starting QB, but it's at risk next season for sure. And even if I jump over to the NFC, I just wanted to ask that quick question. If I jump to the NFC, we got Seattle Seahawks in the last spot, and Detroit and Green Bay are the only ones lasting 8-8. So if Detroit wins, they're possibly in. If Green Bay wins, they're possibly in. So the Packers probably have one of the biggest wins they need, and it's against the Lions. And the Lions win, they could possibly make playoffs.
Who had that on their bingo card?
Yeah.
The Lions? Someone's making some decent money on the betting apps, though.
Oh, my God. Just to make playoffs, probably $100,000 right there.
Oh, goodness. I don't think anyone expected that. It's close. And, yeah, this is what happens on the Packers, right? Weren't consistent. And this is what you get. You play poorly at the start of the season, almost halfway through, pretty much. This is what you get, right? Now you gotta really try and pull it off, right? So, see what happens. But, of course, a lot of things have to go right. It's possible. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Is it gonna happen? Is it not gonna happen?
Well, I do gotta admit, so even if Green Bay does get in, their possible matchup is looking like the 49ers. And if you can remember from last season, what happened to the 49ers and Green Bay game, this will be an entertaining game for sure.
Entertaining is just please score more than 15 points, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, my God. So, actually, if I could quickly just jump in and give what Week 18 looks like for most of these teams. So, the Chiefs will versus the Raiders, the Titans versus the Jags, which is actually a pretty good game in my opinion. The Ravens versus the Bengals, the Browns versus the Steelers, the Vikings versus the Bears, the Patriots versus the Bills, the Jets versus the Dolphins, the Buccaneers versus the Falcons, Panthers versus the Saints, Colts versus the Texans, Cardinals versus 49ers, Cowboys versus the Commanders, New York Giants versus the Eagles, Lions Packers, Chargers Broncos, Rams versus the Seahawks. So, wow, that's it looks very, very entertaining.
There's some interesting ones. Of course, I think the Packers Lions ones. I think a lot of people are going to watch just because of implications.
It's the last game of the night.
Yeah, that's true. That too, hey, as well. So. I think the Pats Bills, right? I mean, because the Bills might. I don't know if they're gonna sleep on the game, but what if they do? Would the Bills rest Allen for say? They're already in a position, but would they rest him just get an extra week in or?
Well, that all depends.
The Pats. It's still a win that's needed, right? So
yeah, I would say if I was the Buffalo and I didn't want the Pats in playoffs, I would probably still have all your starters for sure. And the Patriots really need a win here because Miami's versus the easy Jets, and Pittsburgh's versus the Browns, so three teams need a win, and would you really want to just give one more loss to a team and shatter their playoff hopes? Honestly, that would be like
I could see some upsets with these games. Actually, I'm not gonna say which teams, but I mean, imagine, right? Like, you're a team that was like favored in the start, and then you lose to a bottom seed team at the last game. Like, that's gonna say a lot. And I mean, that could cause some management restructuring for say. What would happen for say if like the Vikings lost to the Bears? Like, yeah, they're going to the playoffs, but what does that do to your confidence, right? Like, if you are gonna lose a game like that,
especially when you're going up against like the Giants, that
could be a momentum killer, right? I'm thinking like some teams are gonna want to take this as a momentum shift. I think the Bengals, for example, too, right? Doesn't really matter; they're still gonna make it. But if you beat the Ravens, right, you get a little more boost. So you get in, you get that feel, right?
Especially when there's a possibility of you versing them in playoffs. But at the same time, you could cause that could cause being cocky going in the playoffs, even if you win. But if you go in losing, you have kind of redemption at that same point. So yeah, there's a ton of talk in the NFL right now, and I love to see it. I can't wait for playoffs, man. I can't.
Yeah, that's gonna be exciting. So some entertainment to consume on the weekend. So, what do you guys think? Who is going to make the playoffs? Who isn't? And who's going to get upset? Which management team is getting absolutely fired? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, for sure. And as always, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Playoffs is almost here.
Woohoo. Let's
Peace.
Go, baby. Peace.
Goal!
They scored! Bax, let's go.
Touch timing!
Good.